No matter the size or the location of your church, it is well known that 20% of people that actively attend church do the majority, if not the entirety, of the volunteering at that church. That means 80% of the congregation that attends regularly just comes to church, receives, and then leaves without depositing the most important, precious resource that we as humans have to offer, which is our time. So let's talk about on the other side, something that has always been really cool about you, and I feel like we know that we have a lot of similarities, right? Shout out to everybody who has ever mistaken us for one another.
It happens so much,
especially back when we were at the church together. He would preach a message, somebody would come to me and go, hey, that word was amazing. And we went from correcting them to eventually just going, oh man, hey, thank you so much. Bless God. I'm so glad that God used that word. And then I'll go back later and be like, hey, Paul, you just got somebody said that they were really blessed by your message. And then
someone would compliment me on my dance skills, and they would compliment me on how I did this performance, because we would have shows at the church, and they would just say, oh, it was just so good how you did this and how you led in this and did that. I was like, that was not me. And then, just like you said, dude, it was just like, whatever, dude. We just roll with it, and we just text each other, and
it became a thing for sure.
Here's the high five, man. Good job.
Right. Team God. But one of the things that I feel like we're also similar is that we understand the importance of not living in a Christian bubble. And I think both of our personalities are just wired that way, where if we are specifically only in Christian culture, we almost get really antsy.
Very.
And then it's like, then I almost want to like be combative with everybody. Like I'm going to just argue and poke the bear somewhere.
You think Ruslan's being combative? We're going to just shoot shots at everybody.
So talk on the other side. Even though it's important to have these people around you and in your life and outside your circles, I feel like, and obviously, this is not saying, hey, go hang out with, some kind of gang member of some sort that you're trying to run from. Like, I'm not saying it's a wild out, but tell us about the importance of not surrounding yourself only in the Christian culture and living in that bubble.
Whew, that's so good. And the pastor in me wants to go straight to scripture, but you can't help but look at Jesus, right?
Yeah.
And so when you look at Jesus and how he lived his life, he had his 12, he had his followers, but he was always hanging out with like Zacchaeus and like the Pharisees and those that were lame and broken. And during that Bible time, as we know, like you don't hang out with the lame and broken. Like the outcast, you just don't do that, because your status is built on who you're hanging around with. And so you don't do that. And this guy's breaking all types of barriers. And so when I look at Jesus, I'm like, okay, I need to model my life like that. And so in that bubble, I feel like there's always those two people. You got the people, the Christian, let's talk about Christians only. You got the Christians that they're only in the world. They in the club, they in the bar, they in the thing. I'm being a light, but they ain't never at church. Ever. Ooh. This big hyperbole there. But they show up when they want to. Then you got your Christian that they only want to stay at the church, and that's all they do. That's only ministry that they can ever do is if I just open up these doors and I say hello, and if I just strum my guitar and sing songs of Jesus, this is the only time I'm close to Jesus. So usually you have those two people, and really it's a nice blend of both. And I would love to say balance, but balance doesn't exist.
Nope.
Like, you know what I mean? Balance just doesn't exist. It's a blend of you being embedded in the local church, working, investing into this call that God has given us, but then also you're spending time with your neighbors. You're spending time with your coworkers. Like the number one thing, everyone's trying to invite people out to like, come to my church, bro, no one cares about your church, but you know who people do care about? You. What if you invite them over to dinner? So like that bubble is like getting out, hang out with your coworkers, grab some coffee, like just have lunch with your another coworker to get out of your bubble, get out of your space. Find something you can invest in. If you're a Christian, you're salt and light to this world. And so find somewhere to be salt and light. I do this through CrossFit. I picked the YMCA, because shout out to YMCA because they take care of my kids while I work out. Amen. But I use that as a platform to also be out in the community with these people. And and if anyone knows anything about CrossFit, it's like a low key cult. Like they get in, like we just be beating ourselves up, but we're a super tight community. Where as a Christian, I was a little jealous because I was in this CrossFit world and I was like, why isn't the church like this? Like we would just do everything together. We work out together. We watch our kids together. We go out to eat together. We would do community projects together. Most of these people didn't even know Jesus, bro.
But they were serving.
Bro. Yep. And so that puts me in a space where I can be with these people. We can serve together, but I can be authentically me. They can be authentically them. But that creates a category so that I can be that salt and light. And I'd say the biggest caveat for me is not just taking information for information's sake, but using it. So when we when I'm reading scripture and I'm letting it examine my heart and I'm repenting and I'm coming before the Lord, I don't want to just sit on like, dang, that was good. Yep. Yeah, I could do all things through Christ. Man, changed my life. Like my personality, your personality is we got to do something with this.
Right.
And so that is, how can I implement that outside my bubble? And so it's vital. It's important. And I will say, if you're a Christian watching this, if you're not having a blend of the local church and being in your community, if you're missing a piece in that, I think you need to repent. Like it's the call that we've been given as Christians to go into all the world and preach the good news and baptize and teach. Like we're called to do that. And I think for a lot of Christians that aren't in the ministry world, they feel like if we just attend church, we're good.
Right.
And it's just like, that's not the call. The call isn't just to be listening to some pastor on the microphone.
Right.
That's not, our whole Christian life isn't just sitting down waiting on a Sunday.
Yeah. And honestly, from the church that we used to go to, right? Faith Family Church, back when they were in Swansea, I would have, if I would have just been a church attendee, I don't 100% know if I would have continued being in church, period. And what I mean was, when I first got in, summer 2000, right? I got invited by a person in the classroom, a classmate. She was having a party, right? Graduation, 8th grade graduation party. This is summer 2000. And
graduation parties.
and I'm hanging out downstairs in the basement, come up. I always like hanging out with adults. And so I was up there.
Conversations are always interesting.
Always. And they're like, hey, do you, everybody down there is from our church. And in my mind, I'm like, okay. They're like, hey, have you ever thought about going or whatever? And so anyway, so fast forward, I get in there. Gosh, I want to say like 2 weeks or so into it. We used to kind of sing. They would play their songs, their worship songs, whatever. I was learning them, so I'd sing in the car. And then she ended up, the mom ended up, Angie, telling Larry that I could sing, and Larry took me by the ear.
Shout out to Larry.
Literally took me by the ear, put me up on the stage. I was like, "Yo, I don't even know the words." And at the time, there was a projector against the wall, and he's like, "You see that projector? Now you do."
Discipleship.
Bro, I think I was up there with some like lime green, black, and white camo pants.
Let's go.
And a black shirt.
Let's go.
So anyway, so I get involved.
This is before it was real cool to put black and brown people on stages, bro. Like
well, thankfully at the time, where the church prided themselves, and in a good way, pride, it was so diverse, bro.
Yes,
like
it was very diverse.
We'd have gospel songs, we'd have Spanish songs, we'd have it was all over.
Dude,
right?
Yes, it was heaven.
Yeah,
like, it was a little bit of everything. We're exalting Jesus. It was, and people would say that too. I remember people would say that, like, your church is like heaven.
Yeah,
it's like everybody's there. Like any type of ethnicity, groups of people, demographics. Yep. So yeah.
So I get in there. I get involved. I start doing the Christmas production stuff. That's how I get to know our friend Jeffrey, and he is the one that introduced me to break-in and all of this stuff.
I didn't know that, Jeff.
Yeah.
Shout out to Jeff.
Yeah. Shout out Jeffrey. So anyway, so I'm saying all of this stuff that back to on topic where the church attendance stuff. If I would have just been an attendance person, just come in, check in, come back out.
Yeah.
I would have never established the relationships that I've done, that I've had.
Come on.
I would have never grown in my faith the way that I have. I would have never seen confrontation be done in a godly way.
Ooh.
because confrontations happen,
Yeah.
especially with productions. And you got
absolutely.
You got people like, hey, you're supposed to be here. And I'm like, don't tell me what to do. This person just told me not to be here.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
So, all those different things. And so I would have done that. And so, and I say that for me, and where I think I've talked to you about my struggle right now, where my family is and the dynamics of church and whatnot. My kids have established relationships at the church that we're at now.
Solid.
My wife used to go there, and so she's there. But for me, I'm like, man, I'm struggling on really being connected here, and it's because I've just been an attender. Like I just come in, and there's a lot of reasons for that. That's a whole different conversation in of itself.
Part 2.
But I will say that if you are really just going to church, listening to one person speak the whole time, smiling, waving, and then getting up out of there right as service is done because you got to go to lunch, catch a football game, whatever the case may be, there is no fulfillment in church. Like, bro, I've been living that for a while, and I'm like, I can see why if you live like this long enough that you feel like I don't really need this church because I still got relationships. Yeah. I'm still in communion.
That's what happened during COVID, bro. People are like, I could just watch people on live stream. I don't even have to be connected. I don't even have to get in the mix.
Yeah.
And so now we almost have the opposite. We don't even have Jose's that want to serve. Like people are like, oh, you want me to serve? Like, oh, especially with the church plant, it's like all hands on deck, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's like now it's hard to even get people to even serve because they just want to sit there and listen.
Bro, talk on that. Fed. Talk on that a little bit.
They just want to be fed. Like I would say the biggest struggle right now, and my team is amazing, by the way, but they've been running everything for the past year, and not many people are stepping up to say, hey, how can I serve? Or how can I help out? Everyone's just coming in and coming out because they just want to listen to the sermon and do the deal. And then, and then when they sleep in, they're like, oh, shoot, I missed it. It's all good because we're super new. So they're like, I will just watch Verdict online, and they'll just stay in their PJs. This is a lot easier, But like in that community aspect, I think because of social media, which social media is wonderful, it's a great tool. Yeah. But I think because of us living our world online and all that COVID stuff that happened, like there's very little engagement even now when it comes to church and people coming to church and wanting to be involved. And when we do have community, because now it's uncomfortable. Because if I'm in community, I know a little bit about you than just what you put online.
Yes, bro.
You know what I mean? Yes. And you can quote all day, you could say quotes and do your deal. And I did it too. And I would read something else like, I'm quoting that. Or
post it right away.
Or post it right away or whatever, tweet it. I'm like, I'm on it. But it's different when you actually are in community and like breaking bread with people and like hanging with people. And then there's like these rhythms, and that's what the discipleship happens. And that's why I'm like, and I'm not saying you can't be fed if it's all online. No, like Mike Todd, like those dudes, like they're great, like awesome. They're gifted for a reason. They have a platform for a reason. But don't get it twisted, Christian. That is not every church. That is like, that is like the rest of us are out here are working multiple jobs just to make sure we don't burden the church. And then we're trying to shepherd people and take care of people and go through this thing. And I think they just view things online like, oh, just some magical elves in the back, just make Santa Claus do all that he needs to do on camera. It's like, there is a team when you're watching a stream online at a church, there are teams of people that are working hard, that are work other jobs, that are processing their marriage and their children. And it's a whole process. Yeah. And yeah, we just kind of blow it off like, oh, well, why don't you just have that? And it's just like, dang.
Man, I remember the frustration, even when I was helping you in the youth group back at the church. I remember the frustration that I was feeling. I'm not even the pastor. For me, I'm just like, yo, this is my guy. Like, y'all don't know who he is? Like, you don't know how much he cares and what he's doing. Like, why aren't you freaking showing up so that you can just turn the lights on at the right time? Like, can you at least do that kind of stuff, bro? Like, it was frustrating. And maybe it's a generation thing too, because again, part of my story was when I first started going to church, I was super involved. Like I was.
No, you were everywhere.
If there was a way to not be home, not that anything was like super wrong, whatever, but if there was any way to not be home but to be amongst people and doing something, I was kind of like a puppy. who's got all this energy. But they want to get involved. And so you give them too much time, they get destructive, right?
Yep.
Things get really bad.
Yep.
But if you give them something to do and make their brain work, they're really good, right? And so like I was constantly wanting to do stuff. So coming from a generation where I thought, and now mind you, that was my first introduction to church, right? So I just thought everybody was like that, bro. Like we would have rehearsals, right? And then because McDonald's was right up the road, a bunch of us teens, we'd be walking on one of the busiest roads, but we'd be walking, grabbing food. Then it's talking about community, man. Then we come back, and I'm talking about, bro, like I'd be there at church at like 7 in the morning, and I'd leave maybe at 9 p.m.,
bro,
8 p.m.
We'd be there for hours, just chopping it up, hanging out, doing our thing.
Going from one thing to another. I mean, honestly, the reason why I know a lot of how to do some stream and different aspects of stuff, even before streaming was a thing, is because since I'm sitting around, I'm already here for a rehearsal. Hey, stage crew, I see that you need help. I'm going to go over there. I'm going to start helping you out. Now. Oh, you guys are trying to build this thing. I've never built this before, but now I'm going to learn how to do it because I'm with you guys, right? So it's just, again, so back on top.
You even did that.
It was just
you even did that. You were DJing.
Yeah.
In the youth group.
Yeah, it was just so mind-blowing to me where, again, that detachment, like, I don't know. What do you think, bro? Like, what do you think it was? Because this is, so we're talking about COVID, but I'm talking about, like, even before.
I think, and I know you probably don't like hearing this, you're built different.
I don't like
and so
that.
you are built different. The average person, and I'm not trying to puff you up, but I'm just letting you know you're built different. Like I feel like there's this level of go-getting, like, let's get the job done, let's accomplish this, let's do the deal, where most people just want to be entertained. And they just want to sit down and they just want to chill. Like, life is hard out here. Like, and so I think when it comes to personality, I think that's one thing, personality. Because I mean, right now, like, how is it at the same time we have older people struggling, looking for jobs, and then we have younger people who are just sitting at home all day, and yet we still have signs that McDonald's is willing to pay $20 an hour for someone who's going to flip a burger.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so the generation, the world is showing us right now, we just don't want to work. We don't want to do anything hard. We don't want to do anything that causes us to do any extra anything. Right. I think I was telling my wife this right before I got here. I think we've just been blessed so much as a nation.
Yeah.
That, shout out to baby boomers, because my dad was a boomer. So coming from that generation and that hard work and building and doing the deal, that the blessings have been passed out from generation to generation to generation, that we don't know how to work through struggle now. So if we have any level of struggle, we'd be just taking a mental health day. I gotta stay home. And
not knocking that, but yes.
Yes. And it's all good. It's all good, right? Like, that's beautiful. Like, we can actually take those days. Like, those are really important. But like, just like anything else, human beings, we will take anything that's good and we'll corrupt it.
Absolutely.
And then we'll just, we use mental health days every day of the week because we just can't function anymore. Like, as a society, there's something that's happening that's trapping us. If we're not being entertained and fed or pat on the back, it seems like we just don't make moves. And so I don't know. That's what I think it might be, but every case is different. Every culture is different. Right. If you're in the Midwest, if you're in the East Coast, if you're from whatever, like, it's all different. But I just think we're lazy.
We're lazy. Hey, if you liked any of this content and you found some value in it, make sure that you like, subscribe, and of course, share it. Also, if you're interested in some more, go ahead and check out these videos. Till next time, grace and peace. Adios.